world of legendary moments will be captured. So stand up, scream, and make sure the boys feel you.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
What is going on, Cowboy Nation? Welcome back to Primetime Studios. Like always, I'm your host, Primetime Phil, and I had to get something in the middle of the day. A little envious of what Game Time and Mark do all the time, so I was like, I have to get in on this and see where it goes, right? Today I was kind of coughing a lot at work, so they just kind of sent me home. I'm taking some stuff, and again, just trying to push past this. And of course, the Cowboy news always makes me feel good, of course, unless it's not going so well. Mike Aldanis, of course, in the chat. I appreciate you coming through. Rhonda, it's always great to see you, sweetie. And Clemente, welcome. Brad Harris, I know you're a Game Time Brian guy, and I appreciate you coming over. My whole thing was that I wanted to get on this because I hadn't said anything really about this Cowboys Detroit game. Seeing a lot of people with their ideas and stuff. That's what's going on. Isaac, what's going on? Isaac Ramirez, Ultra Cowboy. Man, got a good crowd in the afternoon. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I saw that Game Time was going to, of course, do his chat later on in the day. So I was like, you know what? Let me jump in here and see what I can do. Of course, giving you guys the dual view of what I see as well too, what I work with. Of course, I got a TV here, you can see the broadcast, got some Photoshop, some Cowboy stuff, and of course I get the chat and everything else going with this thing. So I appreciate you guys coming through. I haven't been able to jump on too many of the chats to see how everybody else feels. I know, there's this thing in the media. If you're not a Cowboys fan, you're definitely feeling like the Cowboys got gifted something. And, unless you're a true fan, you can really, really see the down that, hey, man, there's two things can be correct. The Cowboys can be innocent, and the referees could have messed up. So we saw the same group of referees that have messed up a couple of times. The trickery, again, that falls a little bit on Detroit and what they were doing. Does it even matter because of the tripping call that didn't get called? I think there's a lot of stuff to this that I think if you're a Detroit fan, you can go into the offseason once you get eliminated, of course. And that little bit of thing in the back of your ear saying, oh, this could have been our year because of this and that. So it's totally understandable. Cowboys, they get gifted a situation. I don't want to say gifted because they walked out of there with a win with an ugly game. But let me jump to the chat. I want to see what you guys are talking about. Rhonda, of course, I love the studio. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ultra Cowboy, I see you a couple of times inside some of these, like the 105.5 chat as well, giving it to them. So I appreciate you coming through. Says Michael Dennis, I'm sure you have to take on the Detroit 2 Yeah, man, that's it. Like, I have a friend that's in the office, and of course he's upset because he feels like they got screwed, and he's like, and there was a holding call in the end zone when they threw that 92-yard touchdown, and I was like, well, there was also a sack, but you guys didn't come up with that, and where's all the holding calls that Micah Parsons hasn't had as well? So there's a lot of things, ifs, ands, and buts, but we all know this. At some point, I think all teams can have at least the same thing. You're going to get screwed over by the refs at some point. And as a fan, you feel a little bit more here. So I feel for them and how it feels like you lost the game. But let's be real, man. A lot of people want to take out of consideration that the Dallas Cowboys, 63 is the eligible to receive. They would have just left him on block. Well, I think he got stone hands. I don't think he's going to be able to catch anyways. So that to me right there is just saying a lot. Is it coming up? The chat? Well, chat wasn't coming up, is it? There it goes. Okay. All right. Lions got gifted. Yes, and that's another one, Ultra Cowboy. I think a lot of people are forgetting that, yes, you want to face Cowboys again. That's fine. But remember, there's a lot of points that were left on the board that Dallas just was getting in their own way. They're can easily drive down the field with CeeDee Lamb, a guy that Detroit went into knowing that they had to stop. And look, he has a record day, breaks the record. So you don't want to face us again. Let's just be real. You want it because you're mad. You're kind of doing the Dan Quinn thing where you're upset, and instead of going for one and being smart about it, you went ahead and go for two again. And then you get Micah Parsons jumping offside. Let's go for two again. It's just like, really? I think I was even sitting there going, why aren't you kicking the field goal? Let's go into, Detroit right now has that momentum. But then again, I question, even when we had the tripping call called against us, which everybody knows, I gave Hendershot some crap at that time. But I got to give him credit. He didn't do it. A bad call. Should have been should have been a first down for the Cowboys, which would obviously bleed out the clock even more, and there wouldn't have been any opportunity for anything. We would have won by 7, et cetera, et cetera. But I can feel that bitter thing because now we're at the end. I mean, Dallas got this point too. I mean, what happened in Philly? We're down at the 6-yard line. All of a sudden, illegal formation, even though it was a touchdown. Like, there was some very similar stuff, but everybody just goes, I think the Stephen A. Smith word is, if it's the Cowboys, something's going to go wrong. And that's what everybody sweeps that under, is that the Cowboys, when it happens, hey, well, it's just Cowboy football. Well, guess what, man? Welcome to Cowboy football. You finally got the upper hand that you thought you had, and of course we come out on top. And of course, the night that Jimmy Johnson gets into the Ring of Honor, was the curse lifted? Because most of those calls don't go our way. So let's see what the chat has to say. Brad Harris says the defense would have known who was eligible. So and that's exactly. I mean, there was guys around him. There was 68 comes running out. There were 3 guys there. They just didn't commit because they saw 68 running out, 70 sitting right there. They're like, okay, 68, probably going to go, high-five somebody in the fan or say hi to their mom in the stands or something. So, whatever. Go let him do what he wants to do. Of course, Rhonda says, how in the hell is a coach still pursuing 2 points? That's what gets me. And I even questioned our coach that when we got backed up 1st and 25, at what point did you really, truly need to get that first down, There were some big runs that they were having. The passing to me was just baffling because even if you push all that to the side, that was very questionable calling. And we wanted to go for the win. And of course, you're kind of the same excuse of, well, we didn't want to go into overtime like Dan Campbell says. But let's be real, man. This Cowboys team is built to kind of last. And when it comes to the end of the games, usually the defense has been pretty good. It's just the past 2 games, we've needed that defense to stop them, and they have not. So there are questions there as well, too. Jamie Flores says, that's why if Dallas gets Detroit and Dallas again in the playoffs, they need to blow away in a hurry because they got lucky. Dallas made too many mistakes. They made a lot of mistakes. You are correct, Jamie. They made a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of boneheaded coaching stuff. The defense, I love D-Law, how they were kind of I don't know if you guys listen to the sounds of the game, but it gets you pumped up. Even when those ugly victories like that, it's not the way you want to win, right? You don't want to, the only thing you can say is that at least it was Detroit and it wasn't us struggling against Washington or something like that, where it's a way weaker opponent and you should be able to blow them away, but you're just sitting there playing with your food, So, yeah, I question that. Let's see. Let's see. You got Ultra Cowboy says, I got happy when we saw Overshown in the Resistance Court. Yeah, man, he's coming back. You're seeing a lot of this. Even Trayvon Diggs walking on the sideline. I think I love seeing that. He's sitting there talking. It sounds like the game again. He's in there talking about a 10-tackle, 2-sack game for someone. So I definitely want to see Overshown in that 0. I'm hoping he makes that transition. I just can't see anybody else in our defense really taking on that number. I know there'd be some guys that would look good in it, but to me, Overshown seems to be the guy that we would want to really represent that because we haven't had that yet. And I know that it was a possibility, but I think it was more money was why Curse wasn't really. Or was it Curse? Yeah, Curse, because he had just switched to 1. So yeah, and so Rhonda talks about the Ring of Honor, and I think that really has a lot to do with it. We all talk about how, Jimmy needs to be given his recognition, and this is what's been kind of lingering over the team. And of course, now what's our excuse? There's a lot of a Cowboy here is like, okay, what excuse are you going to have now? Hey, man, there's never been an excuse. This team has been mediocre when the Jason Garrett era came. I know a lot of us Cowboy fans were just not about that whole Jason Garrett. That's why when at the end of his tender, we were going against Washington to possibly get into the playoffs, I had some people going, hey, man, do you want the Cowboys? How much, do you really want the Cowboys? I go, no, I don't. I don't want them getting into the playoffs. And it was one of those years you would easily sacrifice it. I go, because if they make the playoffs, Jason Garrett is just going to be here for another year, and we're going to deal with his shit. And so I'd rather lose this to get him out the door. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as they lost that, boom, Jason Garrett was out the door. Mike McCarthy comes in. And, of course, 12-win seasons, which we are right there knocking on the doorstep of another 12-win season. I think halfway through the season, if you would have told me that 12 wins would have won this division, I don't know if that would have been, especially at the 10-1. 10-1, remember that? I know Eagle fans like to remember that. So, let's see. Yeah, and he was asking for a loss. Let's see. What's going on, Lee Libra? And I wonder if Game Time's gonna give me shit for doing this. Oh, you know, I'm not copying them, but I definitely had to get in on this. We need, you know, the fact that our defense isn't the elite defense that we were talking about in the beginning of the season. Obviously, you know, injuries. Trayvon Diggs goes down. We got a great stand up in Bland. You off season move that you get Gilmore in, bringing him in. That instead of it being a big positive because your whole defense backfield is going to look great, you know, that Diggs injury really kind of like really hurt us, and I think that set us back. But you saw Dan Quinn being able to adjust. That one game just totally terrible secondary. Next game comes back, kind of tightens it up. You know, it's not a shutdown type of defense, but when you look at the people that we're facing, a lot of them haven't hit 100 yards. I mean, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. What did he get? Like 50-something yards? And that was all probably, in the first quarter? So, you know, this defense has been doing well. I question some of the secondary stuff, but, you know, when you got your secondary guys playing linebacker, it's hard to question it. I think we all question more of the linebacker possibilities because I just want to see bigger guys. When you go against teams like San Francisco and stuff, you just need to be able to have linebackers that can handle their tackles and them pulling with their guards and stuff like that. So that's where I want to get bigger, of course. And the big news when we're talking about offensive line is Linnell Collins coming in. Of course, I'm with the group that says all positive, no negative, because you're taking up a roster, your roster spot. Nope, you're taking up a practice squad spot. All uphill if you could possibly play, but I don't see anything really coming out of this. Is he better than Edoga? I mean, Edoga has been terrible, but we all know that I'd rather see Richards be out there. But apparently the coaching staff, Brian Broaddus explains, there's just something about Richards that they don't like out there in tackle, the fact that they go with Edoga. But I don't know, man. Collins, there's just some people out there that I think I would have rather brought in. You know, Damian Wilson comes in. Where's Frank Clark? I'm just really, really curious about some of these moves here. One thing I do have to ask you guys, Dalvin Cook, do you think bringing him in would be a wise decision? Do you think somebody like him improves our offensive line, woes in the sense of the running game? I mean, when you look at a lot of the tape, I think somebody came out with it I saw this morning, and they were showing, I think it might have been a Skywalker Steel, but he's just showing some video of the line, and instead of Pollard really bouncing out to the outside, so a lot of it, he's cutting up inside. I don't know if he just doesn't trust his speed anymore. I question that a little bit, especially going into the playoffs. You need those outside runs. We've all understand that up the middle hasn't been the greatest thing for this offense, and you need him to bounce out the outside. So I question sometimes, is it him making the move instead of the call being that he needs to run to the inside? So I want to also agree with Ultra Cowboy here when he says Cook is cooked. You look at the offensive line for the Jets, and not the greatest offensive line, but when you look at a guy like Brees, the Hall back there, he's averaging like 3-point-something a carry. It's different football. Cook, I don't see any step. I mean, there's been a lot of wear and tear through his Florida State days. I used to watch him at FSU, and they really used him a lot. And so when he got to Minnesota, he definitely got that Adrian Peterson treatment where we're just going to put the ball in your hands and just kind of rely on you. So I wouldn't be for it, but if you're putting Deuce Vaughn on injured reserve to bring in Fehoko, does that now? Do you need somebody there? Because, you got Lemke? We haven't seen a whole lot from Lemke. I'm not sure if it's because he's not great at it. He still needs to learn. I liked it in the last preseason's game watching him play. I thought they utilized him well when Dak was able to kind of call the play. So And Rico, is he going to be healthy for the season? Malik Davis, is Malik Davis your 3? I wouldn't mind Cooks if you're behind those guys. If you're behind, maybe in front of Malik Davis, but if you're behind, Dowell and Pollard, I don't mind it at all. Yeah, and Brad Harris, I think that might be it. I mean, Zeke was that guy for us at that point. We don't have that bruiser. We don't have that guy, and so that was be the only reason. If he's going to be able to be a bruiser, that's the type of back we need against the San Francisco team, man. When you've seen San Francisco lose or struggle against certain teams, that's because they've had a back that can kind of barrel through those linebackers, and those linebackers aren't, celebrating by the second quarter because they feel like they can hit you and stop you. When you start to get hit as a linebacker and you're not pushing them back and they're pushing you back every single time, that's going to wear on you by the third or fourth quarter, and that's just something we don't have. Limke, probably the closest thing to it, or putting an offensive lineman back there like we used to do. So I don't know, man. It's questionable, but I wonder, even if we brought him onto the team, could our offense utilize him correctly without really any games to test with? It's like once you get him on the roster, he's either getting ready, learning your plays, and now he's going to be something for the playoffs. Do you really want to put a ball in someone's hands that has no idea what your offense is doing? All of a sudden Dak goes to hand out left, he's out to the right. You don't know what's going on. I'm even confused by the direction as well too. So I think that might, other than the fact that he doesn't seem to be the same back, I think he just hurt the offense, really, right? So Rhonda says Zeke has that strong calf similar to Earl Campbell, yes. Plus the strength running in the middle of the bulldoze with knives. And those are sting, especially in those cold weather places. Again, Cowboys are in a great situation. I would not have thought I knew we were going to have a chance for the division by the time that we got close to it. Saying that to the coworkers at work, and it happened. And I knew that we were going to relinquish the East, but I didn't really think we were going to get it back. I didn't think the Eagles were going to struggle this much, especially with a lot of those close games they were winning at home. But those injuries to the secondary, those injuries to basically that defense. It really kind of started to pile up, and they still really seem lost. And where the Dallas culture, you'll see some of these guys when you see the sounds of the game or any of those things. We tend to pick each other up. Hey man, don't worry. We're gonna get it back this time. We're all on this thing. It's a united front about the failures and stuff, and that's where Slay has even talked about. That's why if Slay wasn't on that big contract, I'm telling you, man, there's a chance that I think Slay ends up signing with the Cowboys if he had that chance. So I can get blown up by Eagle fans and stuff like that, but come on, be real, man. The way he's talked about the culture, the way he talks to our guy, went to college with Mississippi State with Dak Prescott, I think that would be a big possibility. I don't know if he would help us though, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to our defense. Yeah, the coworkers can make the job very difficult, and they can also make it great as well too. Just because they do talk trash. Let me tell you one thing: when the Cowboys lose, I definitely hear it multiple times throughout the day. So it's not, whether it's through the phone or anything, they're ready to jump on me. And Mike Aldana, that's why I think that's the biggest thing with Cooks coming in and stuff. You don't know what you have. You haven't seen him in practice. You haven't handed a ball off to him. Other than watching him, game 2 or 3 of the season, you really haven't seen much. And yeah, you can watch the film and everything, but until you see it in front of you, you're not going to see some of those weaknesses, because hopefully the Jets would have covered some of those weaknesses, so you're not going to see him on film too much. Ultra says he called it when the Pigeons were 10-1 that they were fool's gold, and that's what I thought. I thought the NFL as a whole wasn't going to see it until the playoffs, and if it was one loss, I think they would have just swept it under a rug. If it was just one loss, that's how it happens in the NFL. It doesn't matter how you are. The undefeated Patriots end up getting defeated in the Super Bowl. So I mean, that's what they kind of would have swept it under. And so to see this all happening with as many games as out, I mean, it's just wake up your eyes. I mean, this is what we've been saying throughout the whole year. It's just crazy to finally see the rest of the NFL kind of coming around. I mean, we talked about Dak. We talked about his progression. He's running the ball a little bit more. He's he doesn't have an offensive line that's, not only healthy, but it's not whole. Even when it is healthy, it's allowing rushers. Think about that the end zone. I mean, we talked about the end zone one where he's about to get sacked. The guy, I don't even know what the defender Barnes does. Kind of throws his shoulder, but Dak, I know, takes a good step to the side, and as he's in the midair, that's where he misses. I don't know why there's no wrap. I'm not really sure. But Dak getting out of that situation, keeping his eyes downfield, throwing the ball, of course, just the whole combination really kind of sums up what Dak has done this season. And this is where I talk about the MVP, and man, I am going to lose some people or I'm going to gain some people. And this is what I have to say. Now, when people want to hurry up, the whole MVP, who should be, it's become too much like college football, man. This is a week-to-week thing. This is not how this works. This is a whole body of work through the whole season, and it tells you if this guy, did he cause his team to be winners when they were supposed to be losers? Now, you take Lamar out of the Ravens offense because he gets hurt. Do you think that the Ravens still make a push, not to the Super Bowl, but still make a push in the playoffs? That defense, that wide receiver core, the tight ends, the line, the running game, you're going to tell me that team is not going to have some kind of threat to go forward? Now, if you put the same thing on Dak, you take him out of the equation, does the Cowboys push into the playoffs? Does this home field advantage even happen? So to me, that is the main criteria. Okay, yeah, your teams are winning, but just because you have one more freaking win doesn't make you the MVP. Now, the numbers say in a Dak passing quarterback situation, of course, where Dak is above, but when you put all the combined yards, they're very similar, and I think Lamar has like 20 or something yards more. So to me, I mean, Again, a lot of people are going to say because I'm a homer. No, I look at Dak's body of work and I go, this is his first year under this offense for Mike McCarthy. It makes me wonder how it's going to be year 2, year 3, once it gets even more comfortable, once situations happen. Because you can't tell me that crap hasn't happened this year, that they've had to adjust and go, okay, we got to pull that out. You have to run closer to the line of scrimmage instead of further away because this happened last time. This is what the offensive line does, like, we let that sack go. Okay, next time you need to catch them. Same thing happens. So this is only year 1 in this offense for Dak Prescott. So I definitely get excited about his future. Yeah, and I can understand that because this is the thing is, and Ultra has a point here. This should be a game. This should be a game that Dallas should be able to go in there, dominate, win. Doesn't matter if it's on the road. Doesn't matter if it's in their backyard. It doesn't matter if it's in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. This thing, Dallas should be able to walk away with this victory with no problems. But can they? Can they get out of their own way? Can they just play football? Can we push the politics out of the side? Can we just allow Dak to do his thing? Can we get the running game started? There's so many things that just... Even if all of them don't happen, Dallas should be able to walk away with this, but it doesn't make you feel confident going into the playoffs. But, I mean, this is the type of game that, they would struggle with as well in the past. I don't feel that way with this team, defense, and everything. So I'm interested. I mean, I know Washington has a future. It's just not now, man. It's definitely just not now. Eastside Heroes sighting, of course, because his team is in that race. Congratulations on even being part of that race with a great, solid quarterback, man. Let's be real, man. C.J. Stroud is a better quarterback for your franchise than Deshaun Watson ever was, and he just got to stay healthy. I think if you can draft and get him, I can like this dog hair right here that won't go away. If you can get him an offensive line, I mean, he'll be good. But if you don't draft him, you're just trying to draft, just wide receivers. I mean, Detroit did this thing. Remember, Detroit would draft a quarterback, draft a wide receiver, draft another wide receiver, draft another wide receiver, and then they draft another quarterback, and then they draft another wide receiver, then another quarterback, and another wide receiver. You're going to be in that same thing if you do not get offensive linemen. So you need to get some people that are going to protect them. And now that you got a young quarterback, you may have some people that want to play there. I think everybody at 2 years ago was trying to bail ship. So you got a long ways to go, man. Got a long ways to go. And that's the thing is these three teams, man. That's the AFC right now. Baltimore definitely looks like the favorite. I think Miami can pull out a victory. It's just think about them 3-4 weeks ago. They were very dominant. People were putting them in the Super Bowl. So to me, I don't see that going away. You lose big defensive guys and your linebackers to ACL tears for the Miami Dolphins. You're not going to be the same. Your offensive line hasn't been extremely healthy. Tyreek Hill, we all remember Tyreek. Tyreek's a lot like Amari Cooper. He will play even though he's hurt almost all the time. And I think that's why you saw teams like Kansas City walk away from him. And now, Kansas City wishes they had a guy like Hill that would actually line up off onsides, Brad Harris. Sorry, guys. I'm very apologetic about that. I think you hit a point here. I think this is my biggest concern going into the playoffs is the clock management. There shouldn't have been a situation last week. Even you take away the whole tripping and all that kind of stuff, referees, there should not have been. They should have been running the clock. And it's just something that he's struggled with all year. And I've debated it. I've talked about telling people, hey, man, we need to get somebody in here that's going to be able to just clock manage. Just be beside him and saying, all right, I wouldn't take a timeout right now, coach. I wouldn't do this right now. No, I would definitely run the ball. He talks about his analytics, but I don't think analytics are going to tell you to try to get away from the running game when you're up and your defense just get a key interception. You're right there about at the 2-minute warning. What did Detroit have? Like maybe a timeout or two? I don't even know if they had. I think they had one. So, there's going to be two spots right there. You run the clock down. There's going to be another timeout. It's just, to me, I question it, and obviously the setback with the first to 25 where the referees messed up. So we are in agreement that, there's a lot of messing up in the NFL, but of course, you can't expect these guys to do a part-time job and just be like, I feel fully accountable. They didn't really care. They're going to be now this coaching referee staff is going to be now in the Baltimore-Miami game. So, we'll see, man. Let's see. All right, let's see. If Dak hits wide open Turpin, we are not talking about clock management. That is true. That's what I saw. When we were watching the game, I was like, man, right down here, like there's somebody wide open. So I didn't know it was Turpin, but I did see that somebody was wide open. Those are the things that every team has a weakness. I think, we're gonna have plays that don't go our way. They're gonna. We definitely know that this team is gonna shoot itself in the foot at times. But I think they're talented enough to get out of those. You just can't pile it up 10 times and expect to get out of them every single time. So they need to clean it up, and it's easier said than done. I think Brian has pointed this out. I love just let's be healthy, man. Healthy going into the playoffs. That way we have a chance. I would not expect us to be hosting NFL games into the playoffs. So I would have thought maybe we get one, but I didn't expect the possibility of getting more if, of course, you win. So I'm interested to see. What do we look like? Of course, if we dominate Washington, you can't get too far on like, oh, Dallas is definitely going because it's Washington, man. So it's, they can't score. They got some good talent, but again, you should be able to beat this team. And even if you're having a bad game like you did this past one, you should still be able to beat them. So that's great. Let's see. Mike Aldana says. Mike McCarthy has a brain fart when it comes to situational. He does. He doesn't really concept. I don't know. To me, he kind of. It's gonna be a bad analogy, but let's just go and swing with it. He reminds me of going to check the mail and my dog, and I come back and my dog's like, "Oh my God, you've been gone forever." He just has no sense of time. Manage time. Just how long has passed? How long is it gonna be before the end of the court? He just has no sense of time. So when you come back, and he actually wins the game by some good clock management, it's more like, hey, it's, the dog wagging the tail when you're coming back from the mailbox, like, oh, you've been gone forever, So I really question him in that whole thing. And again, I will, bang on the desk and say this: the Rams have a coach that just job is to pull McVay off the out of the field of play so the referees don't bounce into them. You can always just have one coach that just has the clock management. It doesn't seem like you would want just one coach, but you need somebody at least within the staff that has a better understanding of clock management. I mean, I know he's telling the head coach that, hey man, it's not great to do this. I need like the ghost of John Madden to come back and tell his ass, Hey, what's going on, Tay Cowboys? How's it going? Just stopping in to say hi, fellas, chat with you. And let's get this win. Back to work. Oh, okay. So, yeah, to work. That's where I was at. They sent me home. You can hear it in my voice. But, yeah, so it's just, man, the state of this team going into this right now, at least I feel confident that it can win some games. Can they lay an egg? Hell yeah, man. Every team in here can lay an egg. But can every team in here win at least a game? Yes. I expect us to be really fighting for that NFC championship to go to the Super Bowl. Now, they have to do the rest, man. You've seen this team, of course, and this is why I want to say this, is because this is a really good team. It's a really young team. There are some people on here like Hankins that brings it down a little bit, but Hankins is a great positive thing. Of course, getting him back for the playoffs, that's going to be huge. The torn, Penalacious fly, I don't know what it was. There's some foot thing that Tyler Smith has. Okay, it's right there on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. It was, totally Paul had it. The whole tear makes it allowing him to be able to play. I wouldn't want him to play in Washington. I'd rather him sit that one out, let TJ Bass come in there and play it. And so there's been some lucky stuff that's happened within the injuries. Tyron Smith, is he going to be healthy going into the playoffs? Do we sit him after a certain point? If we get, there's just so many questions going into this final game. It's going to be interesting to see how Mike McCarthy handles it. I just want to get this NFC East title, and I want to get some home field advantage through this playoffs, and not being able to, if we have to play San Francisco and they don't get eliminated. If San Francisco gets eliminated by one of those younger teams or those lower tier teams, because look, the Rams are sitting there. If the Rams were to play today, what do they play? Detroit. If they win that, that's a whole situation. So there's a lot of scenarios where teams could have to play San Francisco that have a chance of really beating them, and that San Francisco has struggled with. So if San Francisco all of a sudden loses it. You're hosting games up until the Super Bowl time, so that would be a great situation, especially when you look at Dallas's road record and, of course, their home record. Yeah, you can hear my voice slowly start to go more and more. So I'm probably not going to be too much longer on here because, of course, I want to get on to game times. But I really wanted to try this out, see how the afternoon chat was, maybe get a whole setup where, my graphics and everything to kind of just put on display. I love to put it on like this display for you guys and really show you how it's something I love to do. I love the graphics and everything, and it's just something that if I could make it pop a little bit more, I definitely will try. Game time, I struck gold with him, man. As you guys see, in the way that he is, very very verbal, but man, the way that we met on the draft with Mark Holmes, of course, the Godfather. I was very thankful for the situation because now, man, look at the page and look how this channel is going. So game time, I appreciate your support as well and helping me with my channel, guys. I appreciate you guys a lot. So I talk to you guys. I feel like we're family. I can't wait till those situations where, kind of like Mark has it, where he's able to meet people and just even going over to Mark's and hanging out with him, I'll be able to meet a lot of those guys as well too. So guys, I appreciate everything that you guys do. I appreciate and I'm gonna say it, appreciate 1,000 times, because I do, man. You guys are amazing, and you guys have done so much for this channel. So one thing I do appreciate that you don't forget to do is do what? Ring that bell. All right, you guys take care.
Hey, we know each other. He's a friend from work.
What you do, you're like a little screw loose type of guy, and I thought that's how I am. So I'm digging it, big guy. I am.
Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
Game Time Brian, otherwise known as the mailman here,
Cool name. Superpowers?
broadcasting from the illustrious Jobu Studio.
Come on, are you gonna tell me who that is?
Primetime Phil, and of course my co-host, Game Time Brian.
Oh, Jesus Christ, this place is going to explode.
$100,000. I don't even need to hear it.